States of America. This is a crisis that requires urgent action now. And Leader Schumer and myself have repeatedly made clear to the White House and to Republicans here on Capitol Hill that we're ready to sit down to work things out, but it has to be done in a way that actually improves the quality of life of the American people and doesn't continue to undermine it, which is what Republicans have done all year, hurting everyday Americans in order to reward their billionaire donors. Questions?
Leader Jeffries. Mr. Leader, thank you. I don't know if you heard the President's comments a short time ago in the Oval Office, but he did seem to indicate a willingness maybe to negotiate on the ACA subsidies. He said if we made the right deal. He also seemed to suggest that, well, he said something to the effect of we're talking to Democrats. So A, have you had any conversations as of late with the President or the White House? And B, what do you make of his willingness maybe to strike a deal here?
Well, the White House has gone radio silent since the Oval Office meeting last Monday, and neither Leader Schumer or myself have heard a word from the administration about resolving this issue, making clear to us that the White House wanted to shut the government down, to continue the chaos that they've been inflicting on the American people since day one of this presidency. It's an interesting statement that the President has made, and I think both House and Senate Democrats are clear. We'll sit down anytime, any place with anyone from your administration, including the President, to get a resolution here with respect to the Affordable Care Act tax credits, which need to be extended right now, as well as dealing with and addressing the Republican health care crisis that is devastating everyday Americans all across the country.
Thank you, Leader Jeffries. Do you still intend to call House Democrats back into D.C. this week at all?
We have a caucus meeting at 6 p.m. today. We'll have a House Democratic caucus leadership meeting. That's the full leadership tomorrow, and I expect a strong presence of House Democrats throughout the week here in Washington. And the interesting thing to me is, why are House Republicans still on vacation? They've actually been on vacation for the last few weeks, and Mike Johnson once again has canceled votes. Why are they so afraid of being here at the Capitol and doing their job? Why don't Republicans want to swear in Representative-elect Adelita Grijalva? Is it the Epstein files? Is it the unwillingness to address the Republican health care crisis? Is it because they know the American people have blamed Republicans for recklessly shutting down the government? Or is it all of the above? House Democrats are here on duty. House Republicans remain on vacation. That's a shame. Back.
What do you say to your young constituents, energized young constituents that helped put Mamdani in the position that he's in, and now they're calling for you to represent their wishes and endorse him?
I think I've answered those questions repeatedly, and I have more to say before early voting. Thanks.
Democrats historically have been relatively anti-shutdown. Are you concerned, as this drags out, that you might be helping normalize that as a negotiating tactic?
No, we're not normalizing anything here. What we're normalizing is the notion that if Republicans want Democrats to participate in a spending bill that requires Democratic votes in the Senate, and I'm thankful for Senate Democrats who are holding strong under the leadership of Chuck Schumer. If Republicans want Democratic participation in the appropriations process, then that means we actually have to come together, sit down, negotiate a bipartisan bill, and do something that makes life better for the American people and doesn't continue to hurt everyday Americans. We were very clear from the beginning. For weeks in September, we said we will not support a partisan Republican spending bill that continues to gut the health care of the American people. We didn't hide that from anyone. We were very clear, live and direct, with Republicans and with the American people. And we're standing on the side of the American people who have experienced this devastating cut to Medicaid, this refusal to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits, this assault on their hospitals, their nursing homes, and their community-based health centers, and the American people have understandably had enough, and Democrats are standing on their side. Michael.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. You challenged Speaker Johnson to a floor debate this morning. He responded that it was a desperate plea for attention. How do you answer that response from the Speaker to your challenge to debate him on the House floor in prime time?
Well, Mike Johnson and I, have a very open and candid and forward-looking relationship, and that will continue. But for the life of me, I can't understand. They don't want to defend their position privately. This is Republicans, extreme MAGA Republicans, and they don't want to defend their position publicly because their position related to gutting the health care of the American people and shutting down the government is indefensible. And we continue to give them every opportunity, every single opportunity, to explain themselves to the American people. Yet Republicans are on the run. That's why they're on vacation right now. That's why votes were canceled last week by Republicans in the House, and votes have been canceled this week. We're in the middle of a shutdown and a chaotic presidency that begun on January 20th and continues. This is a cost of living crisis that the American people are confronting. Donald Trump promised that costs would go down on day one. Republicans promised that costs would go down on day one. Costs haven't gone down, they've gone up. America has become far too expensive. Inflation is on the way up. Electricity bills skyrocketing through the roof. Grocery costs out of control. Housing costs getting more and more expensive. And now Republicans are setting in motion the fact that housing and health care and grocery prices and all of the day-to-day expenses that the American people experience is not going to get better, it's going to get worse. And this health care crisis is exacerbating that.
Leader Jeffries.
Yep, back.
I can wear my heels today.
Okay, I see you.
There was a new poll out today from CBS News. It was a CBS News and YouGov poll, and it basically says that Americans, by and large, pretty much evenly distribute blame on Republicans, Democrats, and then 30% blame both of you guys. Why do you think that they're not blaming Republicans far more the way that you are?
The overwhelming balance of public sentiment clearly is that Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. Republicans have shut the government down. They've shut the government down because of their refusal to address the health care crisis that they've created. We're standing on the side of the health care of everyday Americans, working class Americans, middle class Americans, and hardworking American taxpayers, and we're going to continue to stand on their side because this issue matters. Lowering the cost of living matters. Making sure that the high price of health care doesn't continue to escalate in ways that's going to bankrupt people, that matters. That's why we're in this fight until we win this fight.
Do you think your messages resonate?
Yes.
Just to clarify, it wasn't just that President Trump said he would be willing to work with Democrats. He said, I'm going to quote him, "We are speaking with the Democrats, and some very good things could happen with respect to health care." So you're saying you've had no discussions with the White House at all. Do you know of any Democrats that have spoken to President Trump at all on this issue?
I do not know of any Democrats who have spoken to President Trump or members of his administration on this issue of reopening the government, enacting a bipartisan spending agreement, and addressing the Republican health care crisis. President Trump did make those statements. Leader Schumer, I believe, has put a statement out in response indicating he's had no conversations with Donald Trump or the administration. And that's certainly been the case relative to us as House Democrats. That said, we're open. We've been calling for bipartisan conversations to address the Republican health care crisis, which includes extending the Affordable Care Act tax credits so that tens of millions of Americans don't experience dramatically increased premiums, copays, and deductibles in an environment where the cost of living for everyday Americans is already too high. And so if President Trump is ready to have that conversation and is ready to talk about health care and is ready to talk about the Affordable Care Act tax credits and extending them, we of course look forward to sitting down and having that engagement, reopening the government, and getting the spending bill situation resolved in a manner that helps the American people. Last question.
Thank you, Leader Jeffries. What do you make, though, of the president's comments today? What does that signal to you?
I think it signals the fact that Democrats have been talking about health care, and health care for the last several weeks. Republicans initially claimed that Democrats were not serious. We are very serious about the issue of improving the quality of life of the American people, about canceling the cuts, lowering the costs, and saving health care. Very serious about it. And we've made that clear from the beginning. And now it appears that President Trump, the administration, even House Republicans, including Marjorie Taylor Greene, acknowledge that this isn't a fake issue, that we actually need to deal with the health care of the American people, the skyrocketing health insurance costs, the fact that Republicans have broken our health care system, including the largest cut to Medicaid in American history, and they did it so they could reward their billionaire donors with massive tax breaks. By the way, Republicans enacted permanent tax breaks for the wealthy, the well-off, and the well-connected in the United States of America. Permanent tax breaks. And now the nerve of these people to say to us that we don't have the time or inclination to address the Affordable Care Act tax credits for working class Americans and can't be bothered to extend them at all. And certainly have taken a position that there's no circumstance where we will extend them permanently. This is because Republicans have very different priorities than we do. And our priorities as Democrats, House Democrats and Senate Democrats, will continue to be standing up for working class Americans, middle class Americans, and everyday Americans who need us to fight for their health care. And we're in this fight until we win this fight on their behalf. Thank you all.